Alright, hell yeah. So this is the Carlisle guide stick, you know what I mean? It's super heavy. There's a lot of aluminum here. And you can still bend these, you know what I mean? They're not indestructible just because they're heavy. Anyway, huge blade, you know what I mean? Here's the traditional outfitter paddle, you know what I mean? And so, would I ever R1 with this? Well, I don't know. If I'm at the lake, I'm going to throw it in because it's, and who knows? I don't mind it because it's like baseball, you know what I mean? This thing, you know, it's like warming up to bat. This thing is real heavy, and it is slower. You have slower swing weight. So if I go from here and do this, you know what I mean? How fast can I just do this, you know, to there, compared to this, you know what I mean? You're just like here, you know what I mean? You can move this so much faster. Where this, you know, this is how fast you can move this. It's got mass. The big blade does help for prying, you know what I mean? I can feel that strong pry. And one of the elements that I do like about these Carlisle blades is they're actually fairly thick. You know, there's no reason a fiberglass paddle couldn't be, you know, hollow or as thick or whatever. I'm gonna work on making my fiberglass paddles the same thickness, at least around the very, very edge, because the elements, it just feels smooth going through the water. Now, I kind of use the analogy of mountain bike to road bike, you know what I mean? So in any of these heavier paddles, kind of feels like a mountain bike, but you get more stability. All right, so those are the elements. We're gonna paddle back and forth. All right, here we go. All right, hell yeah, we'll switch it up. Let me do my offside. All right, hell yeah. Let's pump the ride. Hell yeah. So I definitely will, you know, take this to the lake. I don't know if I'll take it as a spare paddle, maybe a third spare. You know, especially, well, so if I'm paddling my offside, hell yeah, this is gonna feel so much like more difficult to do. It's like weightlifting, that's gonna pay off, because right now my strong side is still just one level up. You know what I mean? Definitely, compared to my offside. So if I use a heavier paddle, now I can go back to this and use that same energy, just with more finesse. All right, so, and I don't know if you've noticed, but this paddle is hella long. It's not 69, you know what I mean, but it's 66. It's way too long. You know what I mean? I'm fine with that. I'll just have to enter my paddle right here, and then as the stroke goes, maybe I can go more vertical. That's what I noticed. If I lean, I can't lean forward with this paddle as much, because if I go for the vertical stroke leaning forward, it's too tall. Where that's what's going to happen with a longer paddle. If I lean forward with this one, yeah, I can still get my paddle vertical. Now, if I'm just sitting here, I can get my paddle vertical, no problem. And again with this one, if I'm just sitting here, I can get my paddle vertical, you know what I mean? And it's not even deep in the water. There you go. So that's going to be your limiting factor on length, is that if you are a type of paddler who's like, hell yeah, we're going to lean forward and pull back, which I think I do. You know what I mean? Well, let's do one and done. All right, now this is my offside. Let's see how far forward I lean forward. Hell yeah, so that's how far I lean forward. So let's make this, I need to throw some more time on the clock just in case. All right, now I'm gonna try to lean forward with this, but I'll probably, you know what I mean, it'll be too much, So I can definitely feel that stretch on my arm. We'll do it one more time. Just so you can kind of get a feel for it. Yeah, so leaning that far forward is just too high. So I'm just glad I make these videos, because it's like, you know what I mean, I don't want to knock anything anymore. There's no reason to do that, because someone who's used to something is just, go for it, you know what I mean, because that's the thing. But I will always be opinionated on, like, hey, these are the things that I do. But I do want to, like, hell, I'm going to use this paddle quite a bit now, even though it's super long. But I'm not going to go leaning forward and trying to get a vertical paddle stroke. I'm going to understand the limitations. Alright, so that does it for the Carlisle guide stick. And thanks for joining me. That's the video. Alright, hell yeah. Now is a shorter paddle better? You know what I mean? Let's line these up. This is at least 2 inches. I swear this is like 58. It might be 57. But this is 60. You know what I mean? So you got that. You know what I mean? It's definitely different. Could be up to 3 inches. So in other videos, using like a longer guide stick, you can't lean forward as far and keep the paddle vertical. Look, I can't reach up another half a foot. So that was kind of the one limitation. So anyway, I'm going to paddle this one back and forth and see if I do drive forward and lean forward. All right, here we go. Alright, hell yeah, that was maximum drive. Now I'm not too much of a like just a lean forward and drive. I don't think. I don't know, but anyway, let's do the same thing with this one. Here we go. All right, so that was too much leaning. So anyway, on both paddles, I just don't lean that much. Now I'm just gonna try to paddle like normal, nice and strong. But we'll see if I do get a little extra oomph, because I can lean forward, but I won't try. All right, here we go. Alright, hell yeah. Now that stroke was like getting right here and then just putting my body weight down. That was fascinating. I'm trying to get the leverage by not leaning back, but getting my body weight here and then pushing my chest into my paddle stroke. So that's why I do these videos, because people are just like, oh, you do the backstroke, you know what I mean, like this, back paddle. And you're just like, I don't do it like that at all. And I'm open to the fact that there's like 5 different ways to do strokes, but it's just like I want to know why I do it my way and why someone else does it their way, and then why someone teaches it one way but no one does it that way. That is fascinating. When you're just like, oh, you do it this way, and you're just like, no one does it like that. I've been in the industry, like literally no one. But anyway, those are the kind of funny things that okay, anyway, let's get on with it. Let's do that same power stroke. Let's see if you can see it. All right, hell yeah. Now we got to end this video pretty soon, but this is another one that I want to explore because that does feel so strong. Now, is it faster? It doesn't feel like it's faster at all. You know what I mean? Like max efficiency. But for strength, hell yeah. It feels like when you lean over your paddle, you know what I mean? I can definitely do that just with so much easier. So let's say you're just going on the flat, you know what I mean? And you're here and you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna do these small strokes. Well, I'm doing the same thing. I'm getting my paddle in position and then I'm crunching forward. So I actually got to write this down and make a whole separate video because I was always fascinated. Now, a lot of my videos, like I'm just like anti-draw stroke, where you're like out here. Well, it's just the opposite. I have no, like, one, I have to like pull my arms, and I have no, like, just leaning back isn't a very strong motion. And so, you know, a draw stroke is kind of just pure arms. That's why I try to stay away from draw strokes. Now, this might just be for me, but I do recognize, you know what I mean? My R1, like, lesson, 30 seconds, we got 30 seconds, here we go, is always be more pry oriented. Get the boat going this way. Now, because now you're tracking so much better, you're keeping the boat between there and there. But if learning, like just starting out, because a lot of people don't, and they keep their boat more straight down the river, and when they take a paddle stroke, now they're over here, 15 and, you know what I mean, 0. Well, if that happens, then a draw to a quick pry can work. But I would not just draw the boat sideways. I've made videos on that's not helpful. But one of my other tutorials is like sweep it underneath the rug. Go 15 degrees this way. But the only, like the main element of sweeping it underneath the rug is because you just get such a good pry. So if I want to change the boat back this way, sure, I can instead of drawing this way, I'm just going to do a 15 degree kind of draw this way because it just makes my pry so strong. We're going to finish with that. Here we go. Alright, hell yeah. That didn't seem very strong at all, but I use it a lot. And that's where I do like the football drill. It's kind of the shape of a football, where you're actually, you're drawing the boat in this way, and then you're prying. And it's kind of like in the motion of your paddle is like kind of like a shape of a football. So draw in, out, pry, and then keep it on the circle. Alright, hell yeah. Like I said, a lot of these videos are mainly for me, you know what I mean, to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. What the hell we were talking about? We were talking about a shorter paddle. We got to end that video. Thanks for joining me, and guess what? That's video. Alright, hell yeah. We got 3 paddles. We got the traditional one, this is what I use. And we got 2 fiberglass paddles. We got a guide stick, a Warner big stick, and then a Warner Bandit. Now this one's curved. The fiberglass ones are real thin. So what's my take-home point is like, well, I'd be a big fan. Hell yeah, these are lightweight. You're going to get more power to the boat. But my only, the thing right now is the paddle blades are too wide, but it's twofold. It's not that it's just too wide. They're also too thin, and when I take a stroke, you know what I mean, they vibrate on me. You know what I mean? They'll like shudder. They'll feather through the water and slice through the water, where it kind of feels uncontrollable. The other element is like, well, because of that, it's kind of harder to slice your paddle into position. And this one, you know, it's kind of, I know what it's going to do. But with that said, this is super slow. You can just see, like, getting your paddle into position is just a lot slower, even if you slice it through the water, where there's going to be a huge advantage if you get used to a fiberglass paddle of being like, hell yeah, I want my paddle right there. But this is the other thing. If I'm hitting big waves, especially in surf, you know what I mean? I fall out of the boat or I don't know, like I'm in a big surf and I go to stick my paddle blade in. I want less. I want less. I don't want less catch to the blade. I don't want all this like a sail. I want to throw in just like a stick first. You know, I'd rather throw in this side just to see if it's going to pull on that. You know, you got powerful currents out there. So, and even this blade, I could probably trim down. So I'm definitely, hopefully, before the winter comes and this lake freezes over, we'll experiment with cutting these down. Okay, so that's the element. This is slow, but it's slow and consistent. Now my take on point is like, I consider this like a mountain bike. You know what I mean? It's gonna plow. It's got some mass, and it's gonna plow its way through. Where this is like, you know, like a gravel bike, like a road bike or a gravel bike. You know what I mean? You're trying to get the most. You know, you're trying to win the race, but you're gonna get speed wobble. So, and so that's the thing that I recognize right away. Now, if I get rid of the speed wobble, hell yeah, then I'm just good to go. I mean, I want to throw this in, and it's not just me, because I'm not just doing one stroke. I'm not just paddling forward and then, you know, trying to stabilize it this way. But that is what's happening, is like when I pull the paddle, I'm having to stabilize it, you know, back and forth. But a lot of my strokes are, you know, they change direction quite a bit, because I'm always paddling and then trying to go for the pry. Because the R1 stroke is always, you know what I mean, do whatever you need to do, but then find this pry and make sure your pry is really strong. So you're always going to have like the catch, you know what I mean, whatever, the follow through, but then trying to slice your paddle back to that pry position for whatever kind of rudder or pry that you need to keep the boat going the direction you want it to go. All right, so, and then, you know what I mean, this big stick, it still does it. It's like such a flat blade, you know, flat and thin when pushing on water, you know, definitely just wants to shudder. So those are the elements that, I mean, that's all I got. I can paddle up and down, you know what I mean, one time. But I'm just, I mean, this is after trying these paddles out, you know, legitimately for a couple days and give it my best. Now, sometimes I do, and I don't even take them with me anymore. You know what I mean? So that's where, hey, this winter, let's cut these down. I want to throw some lead weights around here, or even just some tape. You know what I mean? Throw some lead tape around here. Thicken this part of the paddle up, so it's no longer just like a real flat, thin, you know, face that goes through the water. It's got some rounded edges, so when it does that, you know, water can smooth over it, and it'll you know, hopefully that'll give it the right feel. Get rid of that speed wall. That's all. All right. So I think you want to see this one first. We're going to paddle down and back, and then use the fiberglass, and then finish it out with the Carlisle. Here we go. Alright, hell yeah. There is no doubt that this is faster. But what I would like is just a fiberglass shaft, same T-grip, same paddle blade made out of this. Lighten this one up. But yeah. Alright, so next up is this fiberglass paddle stroke. But yeah, that was definitely a stronger paddle. Alright, here we go. Alright, hell yeah. There's elements of this that are just way worse. Like, it's such a wide blade, and it wants to do this in the water. So that makes me think, hell, all I got to do first is just trim this puppy, and that should get rid of the, you know, it wants to do this on it. And that just makes sense. You have something that's like getting up to a decent velocity, tons of resistance on it. The only direction this thing can go is this way, you know what I mean? Once it's like kind of reached its terminal velocity and you're still putting force on it, a slight change in angle, is going to make that slide sideways. Alright, so now just the traditional. This is the Outfitter. It is heavier. It is a little bit stronger. They're going to last a couple more years. But I do not put a full strength into these because they do bend. Anyway, here we go. Alright, now I'll leave you with this as a question. It's like if you lighten up the head of a golf club, your driver, you're not going to drive very far. Because what you're doing is you're taking something that spins real fast. You're getting that club up to max velocity, and that has mass. And then you're hitting something else that has mass, a smaller mass, and you get more. Physics is the same for everything. It's like, hey, you have a heavy mass that you're getting up to your velocity of your cadence. You know what I mean? That's why I want a higher speed stroke with a narrower blade. Narrower blade means I can get that same speed out of my stroke because now you're just moving, you know, this many water molecules on a blade face instead of like this many through the water. But doesn't the same, so my question is, doesn't the same thing apply that a heavier paddle is going to be more tiring, but it's going to, like, let's say a short race. You're in a short race, you would want this paddle, but added weight. You would want this blade to be the same blade, but made out of steel, with the same characteristics, a 1/16 inch, but just like another pound heavier. Like, that's my question. I would assume in a short sprint, this would be the paddle stroke you'd want. But what's going to happen is the physics question is going to be two parts, because you're not just continually, you know, having your paddle go from here to here with velocity. And potentially the extra, the extra mass times velocity might be lost because, like, you can't, well, I don't know. I would imagine you could swing it into place faster also, because just like a golf